Gun Free SA has called on Police Minister Fikile Mbalula to rid the country of illegal firearms. This comes after 11 people were gunned down in the Marikana informal settlement in Philippi in Cape Town. Well, Director of Gun Free South Africa, Adele Kirsten, joins us now. Good evening, Adele. Thanks very much for coming through.
Good evening.
Well, your statement says that Mr. Mbalula, your choices and actions can change this. Show a commitment to making our streets safer. The question is, how?
How? There are a number of ways to do that. I think the two most effective ways, and this has been shown across the world and in South Africa, the one is we have to get illegal guns out of circulation. And that you do through intelligence operations, through proper crime recovery. But once you've removed them and secured them, you have to destroy them. Because we know, for example, like Colonel Prinsloo, an ex-cop, he moved 2,500 guns out of the secure storage. So you have to make sure that once you've removed them, you secure them and then you destroy them so that they can't move back in. But the other, and this has to happen together with the illegal guns, because most illegal guns were once legal. So the other thing you have to do is you have to enforce the gun law. We have one of the best gun laws in South Africa. We are not like the US, where guns are easily available. But right now, and in fact over the last 4 or 5 years, Gun Free has tracked the movement and the management of guns in this country. And since 2010, 2011, we're seeing a weakness in the firearms control management system. So we've got a good law, we're not enforcing it. When we did enforce it, we reduced our gun deaths by almost 50%. But right now we're seeing a gun violence epidemic.
Good laws, but we're not enforcing them. Now, your statement goes as far as saying gun-related crime can even be eradicated. And that's the word you use when a country chooses to move towards a gun-free society. But isn't that stretching it, a bit? Where is the evidence of that? Do we know of a country where it's been completely eradicated?
Japan is one very good example. Places like the UK that, for example, would have a ban on handguns, Australia as well, have significantly reduced the gun violence rate.
What are they doing there that we're not doing?
They're essentially banning access to handguns. And that's because there's clear evidence that handguns are the preferred weapon of choice for criminals, but they're also the weapon that kill women in their homes. They're the weapon that police use when they kill their partner and then kill themselves. So the stats, something like 85 to 90% of gun-related crime that's committed in South Africa, a handgun is used. So if we had to severely restrict access to handguns, we could make an almost immediate dent in that. And then the long-term work happens. So removing the gun gives you a huge head start. And then the long-term work of shifting attitudes, of explaining risk, of having a gun in the home, of doing what we call the drivers of gun violence, of which Philippi is a classic example, of lack of access to education, poverty, poor living conditions. That's long-term work. But you give a massive kickstart to safety by essentially removing guns. So reducing access.
Is it really long-term work? Shouldn't that be a priority, given that there are people who are arguing that unemployment, poverty are the reasons a lot of people are resorting to crime and violence, because they desperately want to get out of poverty and unemployment. And unless and until you deal with that, gun control alone cannot really do what we expect it to do, or what you're arguing it can do.
You're absolutely right on that. And I guess when I use the term long-term, maybe the impact is long-term. The impact of removing guns is almost immediate. You begin to track it within 2 or 3 years. So maybe just not a good use of that term, but certainly both have to happen, and simultaneously I think can give us the kind of success and impact that we're looking for. But we require decisive and bold action. This is a bold step, saying no more handguns in this country. That's a very bold step, but we need our police leadership to take that step. It's a decisive action, it's a bold action, but it's about ensuring that we have safer communities in South Africa.
Adele Kirsten, that's where we're going to leave it. Thanks very much for coming through.
Okay.
She is, of course, the director of Gun Free South Africa. Stay with Newsnight.